Listen up, barn cats. I don't sleep well anymore, not since I spent 3 weeks reading case files that weren't supposed to exist. Scientists don't like admitting when they're wrong. They really don't like admitting when reality stops making sense. But sometimes, just sometimes, they walk into a supposedly haunted house with their fancy equipment and their PhDs in rationality and walk out questioning everything they thought they knew about physics. Enough yapping, let's fucking dig in. Number 10. The Haunted Bunkhouse. 1990s, Buffalo Creek, Colorado. A rancher keeps hearing footsteps in an empty bunkhouse, doors slamming, voices the usual my property's haunted complaints. So he calls the Rocky Mountain Paranormal Research Society, because apparently that's a thing, and they show up with infrared cameras, EMF detectors, and the kind of overconfidence you only get from never actually encountering a ghost. They set up a month-long investigation. A month! These aren't weekend ghost hunters with a YouTube channel. These are people documenting temperature fluctuations and electromagnetic readings like they're studying migratory patterns of barn swallows. And here's where it gets interesting. Every time something happened, footsteps, doors, voices, their EMF detectors went absolutely haywire. Big, unexplainable spikes in electromagnetic activity. Skeptics immediately blame faulty wiring, which is the go-to explanation when you don't want to think too hard. Except there's one tiny problem. The room had no active electrical system. None. Zero. Not even outlets. The building was basically a fancy wooden box with a roof, and something inside it was generating electromagnetic fields that made their equipment scream. To this day, nobody's explained what caused those readings. The RMPRS documented everything, archived it, and moved on to the next case. Like, well, that was weird. Very nothing to see here, folks. Energy, when there was clearly something to see. Number 9, the South Shields Poltergeist, 2005. South Shields, England. A family starts experiencing what they call disturbances. Objects flying across rooms. Messages appearing on walls, bruises showing up on people's bodies with no explanation. Standard poltergeist stuff, right? Except this time, multiple independent observers, not just the family, witnessed the same phenomena. Enter Mike Hallowell and Darren Ritson, 2 investigators who made the brilliant decision to actually move into the house. And before you ask, yes, they documented everything. Audio equipment, cameras, notebooks, the full paranormal research starter pack. What they captured made them wish they'd stayed in a hotel. They watched firsthand with their own eyeballs. A chair levitate off the ground, not maybe it moved a little. Full on. This furniture has decided gravity is optional. Levitation. A plastic sword flew across the room like someone threw it, except nobody was there to throw it. And their audio equipment captured violent thuds and crashes when the room was completely empty. Local police got involved because of the bruises. Actual law enforcement investigated a haunting. Let that sink in. This wasn't just, we heard a spooky noise. This was, something in this house is physically attacking people, and we have documentation. The case was published in 2009. Hallowell and Ritson wrote a whole book about it, and the skeptical explanations, they're about as convincing as a screen door on a submarine. Mass hallucination doesn't leave bruises. Faulty wiring doesn't make swords fly. Number 8. The Philip Experiment, Toronto, 1972, Dr. A.R.A.G. Owen and the Toronto Society for Psychical Research decide to run an experiment with serious. What if we just poke this extremely bad idea with the stick energy? Their hypothesis? If ghosts are manifestations of human consciousness, what happens if you intentionally create one? So they invent a character, completely fictional. Philip Aylesford, tragic backstory, historical details, the whole 9 yards. They make him up like a D&D character sheet, except instead of fighting goblins, Philip's supposed to haunt them. Then they hold seances. Focused meditation, collective thought, basically trying to will a ghost into existence through sheer belief and stubbornness. And here's where it gets absolutely buck wild. It worked. The table started levitating, not wobbling, levitating. Knocking sounds responded to yes or no questions. Lights flickered on command, like Philip was operating a dimmer switch from the great beyond. They'd created an entity that behaved exactly like a ghost, except they knew it wasn't real because they literally made it up 6 months earlier. This shocked even the skeptics. The ones who showed up to debunk it watched furniture move and couldn't explain it. The experiment was documented, published in 1976, and promptly made everyone extremely uncomfortable about the nature of consciousness and reality. Think about what this means. Either they accidentally discovered that human consciousness can manipulate physical matter, which breaks pretty much every law of physics, or they summoned something else that was just playing along with their fictional Philip story. I don't know which option is scarier, and neither did they. Number 7. The Goldfield Hotel, Goldfield, Nevada. This century-old hotel looks like something out of a Western. All wooden beams and faded paint, and yep, that's definitely haunted vibes. It became famous enough that National Geographic and multiple ghost research teams showed up with thermal cameras, audio recorders, and motion sensors. We're going to solve this scientifically energy. They were not prepared. Multiple teams, separate investigations, different equipment, different years captured the exact same phenomena. Blood-curdling screams with no living source, moving shadows that didn't correspond to any physical objects. Temperature drops to 20 degrees Fahrenheit in seconds with no airflow, no vents, nothing that could explain it. And the EMF readings? Chaotic. Unexplainable spikes in electromagnetic activity in rooms that hadn't had working electricity in decades. Here's what makes this case different from, we heard a scary noise in a creepy building, redundancy. When one team gets weird readings, you can dismiss it as equipment malfunction. When multiple teams using different equipment, different methodologies, different years, all document the same unexplainable phenomena, that's a pattern. National Geographic doesn't usually stake its reputation on ghost stories, but they documented it, aired it, and let the evidence speak for itself. The hotel is still standing, still empty, still screaming, apparently. Number 6, the Enfield Poltergeist. 1977, Enfield, North London. A single mother and her 4 kids start experiencing what can only be described as everything you don't want happening in your house. Furniture moving, objects flying. And then, because apparently the universe wasn't done yet, one of the daughters, Janet, starts speaking in a deep, gravelly male voice, claiming to be a dead man named Bill Wilkins. Not mimicking, not pretending. Her vocal cords physically produced sounds that medical professionals said shouldn't be possible for an 11-year-old girl. Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair from the Society for Psychical Research moved in to investigate. And before you dismiss this as 2 guys with too much time on their hands, understand that visiting scientists, actual PhDs in psychology and physics, observed and documented the phenomena under controlled conditions. They watched Janet levitate, she jumped really well, levitate. Off the bed, horizontal. Multiple witnesses, they recorded the voice. The recordings still exist. Go listen to them. I did. I had to take a walk afterward. Furniture moved with no one touching it. Objects flew across rooms. And the voice responded to questions with information Janet couldn't have known. Historical details about the previous tenant, Bill Wilkins, who had actually died in that house. Skeptics claimed Janet was faking it, which would be impressive considering she did it for 2 years, fooled multiple scientists, and somehow learned to throw objects across a room using only her mind while also ventriloquizing a dead man's voice. The case was documented in a 1980 book and remains one of the most studied paranormal events in history. The SPR, an organization that debunks more hauntings than it confirms, couldn't explain it. And here's what nobody mentions. 3 separate BBC crews tried to film it. 2 of them had equipment malfunction the moment they entered the house. Number 5. The UCLA entity case. 1974, Culver City, California. Doris Bither contacts UCLA, claiming she's being physically attacked by invisible entities, not I felt a presence, attacked. Bruises, scratches. The kind of evidence that makes you call the police or university parapsychology department, apparently. Dr. Barry Taff and Dr. Carrie Gaynor show up with Kirlian photography equipment, temperature meters, and light sensors. These are UCLA researchers, not random ghost hunters. They're expecting to debunk it in an afternoon and write a paper about mass hysteria. They were not prepared for what happened next. In a completely dark room, their cameras captured floating orbs of light. Not dust particles, structured moving light sources with no physical origin. Their instruments registered massive electromagnetic surges during the moments Doris reported being attacked. Temperature fluctuations that matched her claims exactly. And the photographs showed distortions and anomalies that shouldn't exist. UCLA analyzed them. No double exposure, no tampering, just something in that room that interacted with light in ways that violated basic physics. The case was documented in Taft's research archive and later inspired the 1982 film The Entity. Except they toned down the real events for the movie because test audiences thought they were too unrealistic. Let me repeat that. Hollywood made a horror movie about this case, and decided the truth was too scary, so they made it less intense. When was the last time a studio said, "This is too horrifying for audiences," about something that actually happened? Doris reported being attacked until the day she died. The evidence remains unexplained. And Dr. Taff, he still won't talk about what he saw in that house without getting visibly uncomfortable. Number 4, the Black Monk of Pontefract. Pontefract, UK 30 East Drive. A family experiences what starts as minor annoyances, lights flickering, cold spots, and escalates into full-on, we're being terrorized by a monk from hell territory, objects levitating, pools of water appearing with no source, and a black-robed figure that multiple witnesses saw independently. Colin Wilson, a respected researcher and writer, visited in the 1970s to investigate. He watched lights flicker on command. Drawers flew open in front of him, not slowly, creaked open, flew open like someone yanked them with invisible rope. The case was analyzed by psychologists looking for shared delusions or mass hysteria. Their conclusion: everyone was saying no evidence of hallucinations, no psychological explanation for why multiple people, including visitors who knew nothing about the haunting, all reported seeing the same black-robed figure. Here's what makes this case particularly unsettling: it's still active. The house at 30 East Drive is still standing. People still report phenomena. It's been investigated by multiple teams across multiple decades, and every single one documents the same unexplainable events. This wasn't a "it happened in 1974 and stopped" situation. This is an ongoing haunting that researchers can visit, study, and witness firsthand. And every team that goes in comes out with the same conclusion: something is in that house and it doesn't want you there. The footage exists, the documentation's public, and nobody has successfully debunked it. Number 3, the Brown Lady of Raynham Hall. 1936, Raynham Hall, Norfolk, England. A photographer named Captain Provand is taking pictures of the historic staircase for Country Life magazine when his assistant suddenly says, "There's something on the stairs." They take the photo, develop it. And there she is, the translucent figure of a woman in Victorian dress descending the staircase. Clear enough to see details, transparent enough to see through. The Brown Lady ghost of Lady Dorothy Walpole, who supposedly died tragically in that house centuries earlier. Now here's where it gets interesting. In 1936, photo manipulation existed, but it was difficult and usually obvious. Country Life magazine submits the negatives to Kodak for analysis. Kodak, the company that literally makes film, has every reason to debunk it. And if the photo's fake, they look good for catching it. If it's real, they have to admit their film captured something impossible. Kodak's engineers and photography experts analyzed the original negatives with every tool available in that era. Their verdict? Not double exposed, not tampered with, no evidence of fraud. Let me be clear, Kodak Labs in 1936 didn't want to say the photo was genuine. They had every incentive to find the trick, and they couldn't. The image existed on the negative exactly as it appeared in the photograph, a ghostly figure on a staircase that shouldn't be there. Skeptics have tried for almost 90 years to debunk it. Some claim it's a reflection, others say it's a film defect. But none of those explanations account for the specific anatomical details visible in the image. The dress, the posture, the fact that you can see both the figure and the stairs through it simultaneously. The photo is still analyzed today using modern digital techniques, and modern experts come to the same conclusion. If it's a hoax, it's the most sophisticated photographic fraud of the 1930s. Executed perfectly and never replicated. I looked at that photograph for 20 minutes straight, and the longer you look, the worse it gets, because you start noticing details, the way the figure seems to be moving, the expression on her face, and the fact that she's not quite touching the stairs. Number 2, the ARE Poltergeist Case, Virginia Beach, Virginia. It's the 1960s. The Association for Research and Enlightenment, founded by psychic Edgar Casey, starts experiencing violent poltergeist activity in their offices. Files flying off shelves, typewriters thrown across rooms, objects moving with no human interaction. They called Dr. William Roll, a well-respected parapsychologist and probably the last person on Earth who should be surprised by haunted offices. But even he wasn't prepared for this. Dr. Roll documented everything with the meticulous care of someone who knows his professional reputation depends on getting this right. Video footage, multiple witnesses, controlled conditions. He was a psychologist with academic credentials trying to apply the scientific method to phenomena that actively resisted being studied. The footage shows a lamp falling off a desk in front of seated witnesses. Nobody touched it. No earthquake, no vibration. The lamp just fell sideways. defying gravity and basic physics like they were optional suggestions. Objects flew in trajectories that didn't match anything humans could throw. Files scattered across rooms from closed cabinets, and here's the kicker: the activity seemed to increase when Dr. Roll tried to measure it, like whatever was causing it knew it was being studied and didn't appreciate the attention. Dr. Roll published his findings in 1972 in a book titled The Poltergeist. The ARE archived everything. The case is documented, peer-reviewed, and completely unexplained. Think about what this means. A scientist trained to observe and document witnessed and recorded phenomena that violate basic laws of physics, and he couldn't explain it. Didn't want to explain it away with convenient rationalizations. Just said, this happened. Here's the evidence. Someone smarter than me figured it out. Nobody has. Number 1, the Hinsdale House. Hinsdale, New York, 1970s. A house starts experiencing phenomena that escalate from mildly unsettling to we should probably burn this place down and salt the earth. Apparitions, voices, objects moving. The usual haunted house checklist, except this time it doesn't stop. The family contacts everyone: psychics, scientists, geologists, psychologists, the local Catholic diocese. Because when scientists are out of ideas, you call in the clergy, and every single group that investigates documents the same things: unexplained voice recordings, not EVP, electronic voice phenomena. That could be radio interference, clear, coherent voices on tape that weren't there during recording, anomalous magnetic fields that shift and move without any geological or electrical explanation. Geologists tested the property. The magnetic readings make no sense for that location. Sudden health effects. Investigators experiencing nausea, fainting, and physical symptoms that disappear the moment they leave the property. One geologist fainted, a geologist. Someone who spends their career in caves and mines and dangerous terrain fainted in a suburban house because of something he couldn't identify. Clara Miller documented the case in 1979 in a book called Echoes of a Haunting. But here's what makes this different from every other case on this list: it's still happening. To this day. Today. The Hinsdale House is subject to ongoing scientific investigation, multi-year studies, controlled experiments. The house is still there, still active, still generating phenomena that scientists can't explain. This isn't historical. This isn't something weird happened 50 years ago. This is a current, active research site where you can literally go set up equipment and witness unexplainable events for yourself. Multiple teams have done exactly that. And every single one comes back with the same data. Something is in that house, something that interacts with the physical world in measurable ways, something that affects electromagnetic fields, temperature, and human physiology. And nobody, not geologists, not psychologists, not physicists, not priests, has been able to explain what it is. I read Clara Miller's case files, all of them. Took me 3 damn days. And by the end, I had more questions than answers, because the Hinsdale House doesn't fit any conventional explanation. It's not faulty wiring, geologists checked. It's not psychological. Multiple independent witnesses with no connection to each other report identical phenomena. It's not geological. The magnetic anomalies don't correspond to any known natural occurrence. So what is it? I sat with that question for a long time. Because here's the thing that keeps me up at night, barn cats. We like to think we understand the world. We like to think that science has answers, that everything is explainable, that reality follows rules we figured out. And then you read 10 case files where trained scientists, skeptical, rational, educated people, walked into situations expecting to debunk ghost stories and walked out questioning the fundamental nature of reality itself. Either consciousness can manipulate physical matter in ways we don't understand, or there are entities in our world that interact with reality through mechanisms we haven't discovered yet. I don't know which option is more terrifying, and neither do the scientists who investigated these cases. Now, here's a question for you, barn cats. What's scarier? The possibility that ghosts are real, or the possibility that we've been measuring and documenting them for decades and still have no idea what they actually are? Go feed your chickens, lock your doors, check your basements, and maybe, just maybe, don't mess with things science can't explain.